Uh, yeah, I have to send my information to Don to let him know what my topic is going to be for the most part, because I do venture off sometimes. I know you don't know that about me already. But anyway, so I gave him a synopsis, and when I saw the words up, I know, my dear soul brother, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Oh, my goodness. And thank you all for being here this morning. I see some dear friends and new acquaintances that you can meet at the Ingles grocery store in the middle of North Georgia and have a conversation and then say, oh, we've been looking for a church here in the area. And thank you, Bonnie and Kel, for being here again this morning. Lucy and Mel and Frankie and Denise and all of you that I know and don't know, and for all of you who are here with us this morning on Zoom, and those of you who might have wanted to be here, we know you're here with us in spirit this morning. What a great couple of talks. Danny always does great talks, but those last two talks, if you have not listened to his messages the last 2 Sundays, please listen up. It was so affirming for me for many, many reasons, but just for humanity, womananity in general, oh my word. And the humor, because I interject humor into my talks. I try to anyway, because life can be very hard and serious. And I think God is creator, whatever you call it, has a sense of humor. Sometimes it may not feel like it when life is happening and there are a lot of challenges going on. I know for me personally, April and May, I can just take those 2 months and just wipe them out of my life because they were extremely challenging for me in ways that, wow, I'm like, okay, here's another opportunity, to grow. Okay, time out. Anyway, I'm delighted to be here this morning, and I'm delighted to be able to talk about inclusion and diversity, which is the theme for this month, as Danny had set out at the beginning of June. But I want to offer it from a little different perspective insofar as I want to weave in nature, because to me, I think nature is one of the greatest examples of diversity and inclusion. Because I think sometimes in our humanness, because we are spiritual being having a human experience, we get caught up in the human experience and we forget. Remember that forgetting thing? We fall asleep, and then it's about remembering the truth of who we are, unity's first principle, this divine presence and power in, around, and through all things. But the second principle is what? That divine spark is in me, and it's in each and every one of you. And it's in all of life out there. So I think something for me, I've really, the last year plus, have really immersed myself more so in nature than ever before. For some of you who may follow me on Facebook, I do a lot of forest bathing and teach that at Smith Gilbert Gardens in Kennesaw. I was going to offer something like that here. We kind of have moved it hopefully to fall to be able to do that. How many of you, just by show of hands if you want, when you're in nature, you feel better? Okay, I don't think there's any, okay. Good, very inclusive. That's great. Because I don't think I've ever heard somebody say, oh, I went out in nature today and oh, it just sucked. I mean, what the heck? Except I will say some people go, well, everything's brown in the winter and there's no flowers and there's no leaves. And I'll go, hey, do you not shed stuff? Do you not well, maybe you don't. Maybe you hold on to it. So nature's trying to teach you all the time, and it does it in such a beautiful way. And to me, the topic that I want to focus on, like I said, and weave in a few other things, is reciprocity. Okay, when you hear that word, what do you think of? An exchange, right? Okay, to me, again, when I'm out in nature or even in my space, and I have plants in my room, we got this really cool thing going on, It's like, ooh, I'm breathing out. The plants go, thank you. Let me take that carbon dioxide, and let me turn it into oxygen. Oh, what a concept. So when you go out into nature, and there is so much research on this, I really, like I said, with the forest bathing that I lead people in now, have really delved into research behind it to know about the exchange of different things that goes on out there, because it's a very symbiotic relationship. You know what that means? We're working together. And to me, when I think of us, I say us, that was inclusive, okay? Each and every one of us in the whole, like the song we sang, like the word, we are all one. It doesn't mean that I lose my individuality. It doesn't mean that I kind of meld into it and then I lose who I am. I think sometimes we think that that can happen. And it can, because we can find ourselves going, oh, geez, I need to conform. Now I need to be like everybody else. And I think Danny mentioned unity, but not uniformity, okay? So I wanted to just, I just chuckled and I smiled so much when he was talking about eunuchs, and then he talked about black sheep, okay? Well, I sat there and I listened. I said, well, you know what? Officially, I guess I kind of always was a eunuch in a different kind of way, depending on your interpretation. But I had a complete hysterectomy 4 years ago, so I'm officially a eunuch. No more ovaries, okay? Done, all right? And then the black sheep thing, I had that done. I had that down from the time I landed on the planet. Because in my family, I didn't know about rainbow anything. All I knew was I related to the world differently. And my family was not okay with me. But yet I didn't have anybody I could talk with. And I had to keep the secret. You know, it was like, oh, what a hell of a burden to bear. And I'm not saying it from a victim standpoint. It was a lot. And over time in my human journey, it did cause a lot of issues with me, emotionally, mentally, physically, you name it. But I'm so glad in this day and age where we are now on our journey that things are better, okay? And that people can begin to have, if they're open to it, a different understanding from a higher perspective. Not so much from the egoic human perspective, which is very limiting. You know, for years to conform, because I didn't know how else to do it. I couldn't be myself through my school time, through high school, you know, and I've mentioned this before in one of my talks. I became very involved with a really big Baptist church in the county I was living in Metro Atlanta. And I knew all the words to say. I knew all the scriptures to spew out. I knew how to fit in, because I learned how to do that early on in my life. And if you really pay attention to how you live your life now, what I ask you to pay attention to is, where are you investing your energy now? Back then, I didn't feel like I had a choice. I did, but I felt like I didn't, because I knew that I would be persecuted. I knew that I could not let people really see me, including my own family. So, diversity, inclusion, celebrating our differences. Sometimes the consciousness that people embrace and are living from, there is not the capacity to embrace. There is not the capacity to understand, because they're trying to do it from a human, limited perspective. And this is not a criticism, this is just my own observation and my personal opinion. They have not yet awakened to all that they are. Hear that. If each and every one of you was truly okay and comfortable with all that you are, warts and all, the shadow stuff, the stuff that we go, oh, I can't go there. I can't take a look at that. It's too hard. But I promise you, if each and every one of us were at home with ourselves and comfortable in our own skin, and we're willing to take that deep dive and to clear those things out, we would be able to experience the world differently. And when something happens out there, we would be able to receive it differently, to have a different understanding about it. And maybe even in our having our buttons pushed about something, we might go, Okay, I'm feeling my buttons pushed, but you know what? Not as much as before. Because part of what is involved in inclusion and diversity and reciprocity is something called empathy. Empathy. When you put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and you can do the best you can, to try and do that. You can't really do it 100%, of course not. But how willing are you to open yourself up to a different understanding? Because when you have that empathy, what have you done? You've opened up to that reciprocity, yes? That flow. That's what nature is. There's a flow. The trees, I wouldn't think so. I have to have a conversation with that tree. He or she, it, other, non-binary, hello, okay, might be looking at another tree going, you know what, you need to do something about that bark, okay? Seriously, it's looking a little rough, okay? Looking a little mottled. And those roots, you need to color those roots, okay? Whatever. What I understand is nature doesn't have an agenda, except perhaps now about us as humans, it might have an agenda now, and how we are interacting with it or not, how we're disrespecting it. Yeah. So how are you with you? Do you disrespect yourself? I'm the only one. Okay. Okay. I admit it. True confessions. If you can sit there this morning and tell me you've never disrespected yourself, well, if I had a hat, I'd take it off. Okay? Yeah. Have you ever disrespected yourself? Okay. Thank you, Bonnie. All right. Have you ever compromised yourself? Oh, 2 hands. All right. Have you ever sold yourself out? Yeah. Because what? What were your reasons? You don't even need to say for a plethora of reasons. I'm afraid what this person might think of me. I'm not going to be what? Included. I wanted to be included so badly. I didn't know how else to do it. So what do we do in those moments in our journey? We do the best we can with the consciousness and the ability that we have in that moment. So if you're giving yourself a hard time right now about something, stop it. Who said that? I invite you, and somebody's going to hear me say this, be gentle with yourself. Okay? I'm not going to name names over there. Okay? But be gentle with yourself. Okay? Give yourself some grace. Cut yourself some slack. Okay? And if you're not sure how to do that, go out in nature. And allow yourself to be open to telephone calls and to messages that just show up, whether it's sound or whether it's a sense that comes through you and to you that you know is meant for you. In any moment, the universe, God, creator, goddess, is always sending you a message. It's whether or not you are receptive to it, or if you have just kind of said, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. And yeah, God, I get it. You're here to support me and all that kind of stuff and everything, but I just got to do it my way. Just got to do it my way. Because I've tried it maybe a divine way before, and you know what? It just didn't work out. Like what? My way? Was it my will or thy will? Am I open to surrendering and letting go of my attachment to how it needs to be, how it needs to look, how it needs to feel? What about what's going on in the world out there now? I invite you to take a breath. More than one would be good. Okay, but start there. And allow yourself to anchor into an unshakable faith. Whatever that is for you. Like I said, since I've been spending more time outdoors in particular areas that I go to now where the energy is just truly not only just palpable, but it is ineffable, meaning there are no words for it. And when I come away, I am forever changed. It's like the quickening, the touching of the garment. Remember with Jesus, the touching of the garment, and in an instant, you're forever changed. I promise you that's becoming my personal experience now more often and more often. And when I'm not able to get out there, and lately it won't be as much because it's too hot and humid for me to be out there, all I need to do, and you have the capacity and the power within you to do it because of how you were created, your mind, yes, research supports this, does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. And you, and Joe Dispenza, anybody you want to listen to, doesn't matter. God, go there. People who say, well, Jeanie, I can't do forest bathing because I can't get outside. I say, I hear you. And I'll say, is there a place you've ever been before that you feel so connected to source? It's like sacred and holy ground, or the ocean, or whatever it is. Feel into that. Be there. You don't have to physically be somewhere to reap the benefits of the endorphins, the oxytocin, the serotonin, all of the chemicals that your body has the capacity to produce. Not only will you feel better, you'll boost your immune system. Wow. Wow. I digress. Okay, empathy. Yes, and the other part woven into that, humility. Humility. Whenever you've been out in nature, are you awestruck sometimes? Just like, wow. And I feel so humbled in that moment. It's just like, oh. And I go, well, if I'm a part of God, and God's a part of me, and I'm a divine expression of God, check me out. I am so freaking awesome. Woohoo! That's great. But if I say that, am I saying it with humility? Because I want to be the voice for love, and I want to be that divine expression and example? Or am I saying it from a place of, I am just so cool, my ego is just eating this up, check me out? Be very clear where you're coming from. Ego's going to be hanging out in those places. You can go, that's okay, ego. I don't need to boast. I don't need to self-serve in that way. It matters not. What matters to me is that by being the most open and available expression of the divine, that perhaps that energy will go into the collective whole. And even if it's one other person or tree or animal or plant or whatever, can be the recipient of not that which is mine, but that which is flowing through me. Reciprocity. There it is. In your relationships, we're always in relation with everything, whether you want to embrace that or not. And if you don't, that's okay. First time I heard that, I said, whatever. No, how could I be in a relationship with a tree? How could I, whatever. But that was my, not just my mind, it was just my consciousness at the time. And now I'm like, wow, what a privilege. What a true privilege to be here right now and to witness all of that going on out there. To know that in any moment when that's going on, you have, as I said a minute ago, the ability already within you. You want peace out there? Go here. If you have things within you, as I mentioned earlier, that you are what? At unrest with? You are at conflict with within yourself? Guess what you're going to see more of out there? Even if you are saying, I'm 100% peace, Jeanie, I know I am. I just know that I am. I'm in the zone and all that. And, you'll be going, yeah, ooh, that country there, that person there. And after a while, you're like, okay, maybe I'm down to like 90% peace now. Ooh, maybe I dropped down to 50% peace. Okay? Mindfulness, you've heard me, those of you who know me. Prayer, meditation, unity principles, yes? And I'm all about, in fact, I taught a mindfulness meditation workshop here last fall. And it was amazing how we can take it deeper, deeper into the divine, into that place, so that when we can be so grounded in God and anchored into the absolute and feel a little, ooh, my faith is, well, it's not unshakable anymore. It's a little shaky right now. What do I need to do? Not tomorrow, not yesterday, not a week from today, right now. Life is calling you to be what? Present. What does that mean? Now. This is, the presence is your point of power. E.T., there's no, what can I say? E.T., I love this guy. The power of now. This guy's from another planet like I am, and you guys are too, so it's all good. Okay. Anyhow, let me just throw in a few more things because I could go on and on with this. But as far as inclusion and diversity, Plato, this world is indeed a living being endowed with the soul and intelligence, a single, visible, living entity containing all other living entities, which by their nature are all related. When you hear, oneness, and we're all of a sudden together, you're like, yeah. Okay, I invite you to find a place within that definition, if you will, the energy of oneness that feels right for you. Okay, one that's nourishing and uplifting and expansive, gives you room to grow. Deep down, the consciousness of humankind is one. This is a certainty. And if we don't see, this is because we are blinding ourselves to it. The notion that we are all separately existent fragments is evidently an illusion. And this illusion cannot do other than lead to endless conflict and confusion. As I was saying a minute ago, I really do invite you to go within your own beingness. And if you're afraid to go in there, don't go in alone. Years ago, I heard somebody, they said, I think it was a class I took in college a long time ago. It's like, your mind can be like a bad neighborhood. You don't want to go in there alone. Okay? So make sure you're taking somebody with you. I would have some suggestions, but hey, I'm not going to impose that on you, okay? All right. One more thing I do want to throw in, and I want to ask you to hold space with this around me in talking about giving yourself permission to be who you are and just allowing people to be their divine expression without any judgment, without any commentary. Georgia is still, and correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody does research, I think the most recent statistics show that I think Georgia is still one of 26 states that allows conversion therapy. Okay? I mean for LGBT community, because there's something not okay with you. So they want to take you from gay and make you straight, but conversion therapy is still acceptable in the state of Georgia. Okay? Just so you know. And I wanted to throw that in because I know at times I felt like people were trying to do that to me by some of these other churches and things that I became involved with. So you just want to hold space with me around that. I would greatly appreciate it. It's not just for me, it's for all, because it is for all. Anything else I just wanted to share with you? Humility, empathy, and then the last thing I want to share is a Bible scripture from Colossians 3:14. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Love is depicted as a unifying force that holds together all other virtues. The genuine love for one another is essential for maintaining unity within the body of the believers, because each of you, to me, is part of the body of the Christ. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, such as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly. And then 1 Corinthians 1:10, I appeal to you, dear brothers, sisters, and I will say others, because that's me, others, by the authority of Jesus Christ, to live in harmony. And that's the last piece I wanted to throw in, with each other. Let there be no divisions in the church, rather be of one mind, one heart, united in thought and purpose. Maya Angelou reminds us, in diversity there is beauty and there is strength. And this really funny quote, this woman, her name is Verna Meyer. She's a diversity and inclusion expert consultant. Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. Thank you all so much.